Hi, I'm Yvonne from Pree Designs. Today I'm going to show you how I've made this flap shutter card in centimetres. I've seen a few online in inches, but I've completely re-engineered it to work in centimetres so that it fits into a metric C6 envelope. I've also put it on a complete card, so when it sits on the dresser, mantle, whatever, it'll actually sit really nicely and really easily. So I'm going to show you this design. PDF instructions are available for $10 Australian or free with a $50 order. Another design, this is the one that I did in class, is using beautiful papers. It's the Inked Botanicals paper and just a feminine version rather than a masculine version. But of course, the sky's the limit to what you want to put on your design. So I've already done quite a few of the elements ahead of time, just to save time on the video. We're starting off with an A5 thick Very Vanilla cardstock base, and I've chosen Very Vanilla because that's the backdrop of the designer series paper. I've then taken I've used one sheet of A4 Very Vanilla as well, and I've just cut that down into a nice frame, and then I've cut the centre out of the frame. I've then stamped one of the beautiful stamps in the Gone Fishing stamp set, just to take the plainness away from the edge of the frame. So that's my frame for the card. And then you have to make up 3 shutters. And these are the shutters. I've already, as I said, done them ahead of time. And these are just the mechanisms that work to make the card work. So you've got 3 of these. Of course, all of the measurements are in the PDF instructions. And then we're going to attach them to the front of the card. Just making a little bit of space. So I've got my card open. I'm going to put a little bit of glue. We don't want to over glue, and if you over glue, just touch it to your silicone mat to get the excess glue off. You can see I've put a tiny little bit of glue there, and I'm going to line the little tabs up to the very, very edge of the card on the left-hand side, and then the very, very edge, top to bottom. So that's my first one. Then come in with your second one. Again, a tiny little bit of glue. I'm holding that first one down because I want this one to sit right snug up against the first. Again, nice and close, but so that little flap does open. You don't want to impede the mechanism of that one. And I'm just checking all the lining up. It lines up nicely at the bottom and also at the top. So that's my first shutter, second shutter, and now my third shutter. Again, a little bit of glue, put those little tabs down, and then adhere my third shutter on the card front. And again, making sure that's a little bit too close to that one, just making sure that I don't impede the shutter mechanism. Oops, and that just slid. I'm going to have to get my glue eraser in there to make sure I take off that excess glue. You can just see a little bit of shininess there. If I can rub it off, I'll have to, as I say, get my adhesive remover in to get rid of that. So they are my 3 shutters in place. Then I'm going to bring in my designer series paper. Now I've used the Gone Fishing designer series paper, a great paper, and I've matted the paper with Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to put those pieces in place now. A little bit of glue. And I've cut them to size a little bit bigger than the opening's going to be, just to cover the edge of that little tab. Okay, so it just makes it look a little bit neater at the end result. Number 2, so there's 2 the same size, and then the slightly bigger one, and I'm just eyeballing that to make sure they're roughly in the same spot. Roughly in the middle of the opening in between the little shutters. I'm just going to slide that one across a tiny bit. And then the last one, this is a bigger space, so we've actually made this one bigger. A little bit of glue and pop that into place. Again, I'm lining it up so it's a nice neat border, and I'm just eyeballing to make sure I've got them roughly in line. Now I'm just going to grab my adhesive remover because I just want to take that stickiness off that little part there. Otherwise that's going to, in the long run, make my card stick down. So unfortunately, Stampin' Up! Don't sell these adhesive removers anymore. They are a really good tool to have. So that is my card base done, my shutters done. Now I need to bring in my frame and adhere each of the shutters to the frame. So I want to put all my shutters down. A little bit of glue once again on each of them, just in the middle. Don't over glue because you don't want the glue to smoosh out and stick to the wrong places. And then I start from the left-hand side, just making sure I've got my stamping of my little fishing flies up the right way. I'm starting from the left-hand side and I'm just lining that edge up nicely against the side. Using glue, if you need to have a little bit of adjustment, you've got a few seconds before the glue sets for it to dry. So I'm just pushing all of those down, and I do need to bring that down a little bit on this side so that all my little tabs and pieces are covered. Just holding that for a few seconds so it all adheres. Then I need to make sure that, don't want to pull it too early, everything does move. That's not quite adhered, so I'll just push it down a little bit more. Hold it down for a few seconds. That one's not stuck. So again, I'll leave that down. While that's setting, I'll bring in my other pieces of Designer Series paper, and these are for my front shutters. Now these ones are all the same size, so I'm just going to adhere those on the front of my shutters. This card, I think, looks way more complicated than it actually is to make. Just take your time, go follow my instructions step by step. The PDF also has some photographic instructions or the photographs to help you with the instructions. Okay, so hopefully my little tabs, yep, will now be dry. So that is your mechanism. Pretty cool. Now to finish off the side and to give you a little pull tab, I wanted to use everything that was current in the Stampin' Up! Catalogue. So this is a little best label punch, and I've just punched 2 out, and I'm going to stick them roughly in the middle, almost to the very edge. I've got my finger there, almost to the very edge, because then that won't stop the card from fitting into my envelope. I've already checked that. A little bit of glue on the second one, and then pop that over the top of the first one. That just gives it a nice little bit of strength, having the 2 layers. Okay, so that's my little pull mechanism. Now, I've gone ahead of time and done all the stamping and the die cutting. So I'll bring all of those pieces in. So these pieces are all stamped. Whoops, and that little piece there. I've taken the greeting, good things come to those who wait, because then this card can be used for lots of different occasions. So all the stamps are in here. I've used that greeting. I've used these 2 pieces. That one is stamped over the top, and that's here. I've used Pebbled Path because that's the grey colour in the Designer Series paper. Boho Blue, Calypso Coral, and Wild Wheat. Okay, so that's your stamping. Then I've gone in and I've die cut all of the little pieces as well, and these are all the dies. So these are all die cut. These I've fussy cut out of the Designer Series paper, which I'll pull in a moment and show you that. And then these pieces are all dies. So this is your little floats, which are here. This float is made up of these 3 pieces, and then the little fish hooks are these little pieces here. So I've kept all of the colours in the colours of the Designer Series paper, and I've already gone ahead and popped dimensionals on the back because I want all of these pieces to pop on my card. So just taking the papers off the back of the, if I can get that one off the back of the dimensionals, and popping those all onto the card. So I cut this piece down as close to the wording as I could. I've then got a nice big fish, and I've popped the dimensionals close to the mouth area. I've just put 2, doesn't need a lot, because I don't want the tail to stick down. I just want the mouth and the body to stick down. The tail's going to hang over just a wee bit, but that's okay. And I don't want to, I've very carefully placed the mouth right up close to the edge of that shutter, because I don't want it to be spoilt when you pull the shutter. Then this little fish, again, I've just put 2 little dimensionals on, and I've popped them this time down the end where the tail is, because I want his little mouth to be hanging over the shutter over that way. So again, making sure that it doesn't impede the workings of my design. Then to put all the rest of the pieces in for a little bit of interest on the front, the little floats are cute. They've actually got an embossed part on the front as well, so you can tell which is the front and which is the back. Just going to pop those into place. Pokey tool is, I call it a pokey tool, nice and easy to use, and easily, oops, I forgot dimensionals on that one. It makes it easy to get your papers off the back of your mini dimensionals or your normal dimensionals, standard dimensionals. Pop that in. And here I'm just trying to use all the different elements in the dies. Hopefully that's not too noisy. Somebody's working outside. They weren't working outside when I started my video, but they are now. Not at my house. Then I've rolled up, I don't know if you can see there, but I've rolled up glue dots so that it's skinny, and just popped it on the back of my little fish hooks. And I'm just popping that, just going to pop them over there, just to add a little bit of interest on that little pull tab. My fishing rod, again, out of the designer series paper, I've popped the couple of skinny fussy cut pieces of dimensional on the fishing rod. And your fishing rod in the designer series paper actually goes in 2 directions. I just wanted it to go across the top of my card on this one. And then I'm going to open my card and pop all these other little elements inside. Again, just to add some interest. You could put words in here on the feminine style one with the little flowers. I've popped a greeting on the inside on this panel here. But this one, I just wanted to add some of the stamped images and to showcase the stamped images as well. Okay, that one in there. And then that is, I've got a dimensional hanging there. And then that is the card front. Pretty cool. No, it's a little complicated to make, but not overly complicated. Just follow along slowly. Then inside, I always like to put an insert. So I've just got a little piece of 1/4 sheet of A4 copy paper, just trimmed down to size. Pop some adhesive on that and pop that inside. That makes a nice, easy place to write. And then I've stamped a very vanilla envelope. So that's my Gone Fishing card as a flip flap shutter card. Thanks for watching. Bye.